Hello, back with another cocktail, this time with Vegemite. So Vegemite is a staple in every Australian pantry. It is a salty, dark coloured spread that normally is just eaten on toast with butter. And it is quite divisive. People who aren't Australian don't like it. It's an interesting taste. But it's made from brewer's yeast, which is really high in vitamin B. So in the 1920s, they wanted to harness this high nutritional value in the brewer's yeast, and so they created a spread. And there was a spread that already existed called Marmite, which is from the UK, and that was very popular. But Vegemite, that's kind of our own version. When it was first created, it was called Pure Vegetable Extract. Not really an appealing title. So there was a national competition that was held around the country to name it, and Vegemite was the winner. So yeah, it's very high in vitamin B and nutrients and stuff. So it was actually endorsed in the 1930s by the British Medical Association as a source of nutrition. So it was recommended by doctors and health professionals in baby care, and it was also part of the rations for the military in World War II. Because of all these beneficial factors. Most of the time you just spread it on toast. I actually like mine on wheat bix, which is probably the most disgustingly Australian thing I've ever eaten. But yeah, good stuff. So I'm going to put it into a cocktail. Being a quintessential Australian food, I thought I'd create a cocktail with all Australian ingredients to kind of just play on that, I guess. So for this one, I've got some Australian whisky, Australian coffee liqueur, of course the Vegemite, Milo, and cherry ripe. This whisky is produced by Whippersnapper Distillery, which is a distillery in Perth. Perth is where I live. And Australian whisky is actually quite a big category. There's lots of craft whiskies. One's made from quinoa and wheat, which is kind of unusual. And this one is similar to the signature whiskey of Whippersnapper, which is called Upshot, which is similar to a bourbon because it's made mostly from corn. And this is the red corn variety, so it's slightly sweeter, kind of has more of those bourbon qualities. And this coffee liqueur called Mr. Black, which is, again Australian, it's made from vodka as the base. And it's not as sweet as lots of other coffee liqueurs, which I quite like because I'm not the biggest fan of really sweet cocktails. And it also has really good quality coffee that goes into it because Aussies love their coffee. That's why Starbucks failed here, just saying. So it's a pretty nice one. And Milo, like Vegemite and wheat bix, is an Australian staple. Every kid growing up drinks Milo. The original form is a green can, which has got chocolate malt powder, and you combine 1 to 7 teaspoons in a glass of milk, mix it together. You can also have it hot, and it's kind of associated with kids' sports, especially cricket, because similar to Vegemite, it's marketed with high nutritional value, lots of protein, energy, and this is kind of one of the spin-offs, which is a pre-mixed drink, so it's just the Milo and milk already mixed together. You can also get Milo cereal and lots of other things. And cherry ripe is an Australian chocolate bar, very well known, very much loved. It's cherry and coconut with dark chocolate on the outside. So I'm going to combine all of these things to one delicious cocktail. Let's build the drink. So to get the cherry ripe into this cocktail, I infused it into the whiskey. I basically just shaved off the chocolate on the outside, so you end up with the coconut and cherry center. And I stuck it in a jar with about 4 shots of whiskey, left it for a few hours, kind of shook it around, and then filtered it out. So I ended up with this cherry ripe flavour whiskey. So I'm going to use 45 mils of this. Then 15 mils of Mr. Black. The Vegemite Vegemite I mix with a bit of hot water to create kind of, for want of a better term, Vegemite liquid, because obviously a spread, similar to when you put honey in cocktails, if you make it cold it's just going to get thick and not going to mix in. So I'm just going to use about half a bar spoon of this. It's very strong, so you don't want too much. And then the Milo. Another fun fact about Milo is the name comes from an ancient Greek wrestler, so it's associated with like great strength. 40 mils of this. Now let's get some ice. Alright, I've got my ice, I've also got my glass out of the freezer so it's nice and cold. Now we shake. Just pour it straight in the glass. And to garnish this one, I'm going to get a bit of cherry ripe. Cut a nice little slit in that, and it should just sit on the edge. And there you have it. This one is called Straight to the Pool Room. If you get it, you get it.
This is going straight to the pool room.
Cheers. Even though there's a lot going on with this cocktail, I think you can really taste all the flavours. So it's a strong coffee and chocolate up front because they're pretty strong flavours. And then the whiskey, you can't really taste the cherry ripe per se, but it's like a sweet whiskey. So it definitely has an impact on the flavour of it. And the Vegemite is very subtle. You don't want to taste too much because Vegemite can be very overpowering, but it just brings a little bit of saltiness, which draws out the flavours of the other things. And every now and then when you take a sip, you get kind of a hint of Vegemite. It's just a little taster, like a tease.